Some women aren't single because something is wrong with them. They're single because something is happening to them on a level most people never see.
Soul before circumstance. Before Edgar Cayce ever talked about relationships, he challenged something far more dangerous. He challenged the idea that life just happens to you. According to Cayce, loneliness doesn't begin in adulthood. It doesn't begin after heartbreak. It doesn't begin after the wrong choices. It begins before birth. Cayce believed the soul plans experiences long before the body ever exists. Not details like names or places, but emotional environments, lessons, conditions the soul knows it must walk through to evolve. And for some women, that environment is solitude, not as punishment, not as failure, but as design. Here's what made his view so unsettling. He said many women who feel chronically alone aren't unlucky, they're remembering something their conscious mind can't access, a decision made before this life started. Think about it. How many women do you know who did everything right, emotionally intelligent, attractive, self-aware, accomplished, yet relationships never stabilize? And at the same time, others fall into partnerships effortlessly, even when they seem unprepared. That imbalance bothered Cayce deeply. Because if love were purely about effort, morality, or timing, that pattern wouldn't exist. So he looked beyond circumstances, beyond psychology, beyond culture, beyond social explanations, and what he described was uncomfortable. Cayce said some souls choose loneliness intentionally because intimacy would interfere with the lesson they came here to learn. In other words, your soul may have decided that closeness would distract you, that partnership would soften you too early, that attachment would delay something important. And that's why relationships don't stick. Not because you aren't worthy, but because the lesson hasn't been completed yet. During multiple readings, women asked him the same question, in different forms. What's wrong with me? Why does love never stay? Why do I feel separate no matter who I'm with? His answer was always similar. There is nothing broken. There is something unfinished. And unfinished doesn't mean defective. It means in progress. Cayce described the soul as an architect. Before incarnation, it chooses challenges the way a student chooses advanced courses, not because they're easy, but because they're necessary. Some souls choose wealth, some choose illness, some choose power, and some choose solitude. Because solitude forces confrontation. You can't hide from yourself when no one else is there to mirror you. You can't outsource identity. You can't borrow purpose. You can't dissolve into someone else's life. Loneliness strips you down to the raw self. And Cayce believed certain feminine souls needed that stripping. But here's the part that unsettles people the most. He said the pain you feel isn't evidence the plan failed. It's evidence the plan is working, because growth doesn't feel gentle while it's happening. And if this idea feels uncomfortable, if part of you resists it, that resistance itself is meaningful. Because souls don't choose easy awakenings, they choose necessary ones. But this wasn't the full explanation, because Cayce didn't stop at choice. He went deeper, into something even harder to accept. And that's where karma enters the picture. 2. Karmic patterns and relationship echoes. If loneliness were random, it wouldn't repeat itself so precisely. But that's the detail Edgar Cayce couldn't ignore. Different men, different cities, different years. Same ending. Again and again and again. Cayce said repetition is never accidental. It's a message. Because the soul doesn't forget. It remembers through patterns. In dozens of readings, women described the same experience. Men who suddenly pulled away, men who were emotionally unavailable, men who promised everything and delivered absence. And Cayce didn't see coincidence, he saw echoes. According to him, relationships don't just form in this lifetime, they arrive carrying unfinished energy from others. Energy doesn't disappear, it recycles.
So when a woman asked why she was always abandoned, Cayce didn't look at her behavior in the present. He looked at her history beyond memory. In one infamous reading, he said something that stunned everyone in the room. He told a woman her pattern of abandonment came from a life where she was the one who left, publicly, painfully, without explanation. Not as punishment, as balance. Because karma, in Cayce's view, isn't revenge, it's education. The soul learns best by experiencing both sides. If it once caused loss, it must feel loss. If it once withheld love, it must feel absence. If it once used connection as power, it must feel powerlessness. That's the echo. And here's what makes this hard to accept. You don't remember doing any of it. So in this life, you suffer without context. You blame yourself. You question your worth. You search for flaws that don't exist, all while replaying a lesson written centuries ago. Cayce identified several karmic imprints that commonly lead to female loneliness. The first is abandonment karma. Women who once walked away easily now attract men who disappear without closure, not to hurt them, but to teach the weight of departure. The second is power imbalance karma. Women who once held authority over others, queens, priestesses, social elites, and used emotional control, now attract weak or unavailable partners. The soul learns humility by losing leverage. The third is love denial karma. Refusing sincere love in favor of status, safety, or advantage in past lives often returns as unreciprocated longing. You want someone who doesn't choose you, because once you didn't choose someone who mattered. And then there's the most painful pattern of all: repetition without awareness. Cayce warned that karma repeats not until it hurts, but until it's understood. That's why insight changes everything. The moment you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" the pattern weakens. Because karma isn't activated by suffering, it's activated by ignorance. Once awareness enters, the loop begins to break. Cayce emphasized this repeatedly. You don't need to remember the past life. You don't need hypnosis. You don't need proof. You only need to change how you respond now. Different choices dissolve old contracts. Forgiveness without context, compassion without justification, boundaries without bitterness. These actions rewrite the energetic record. And here's the quiet truth most people miss. Some souls choose to resolve multiple karmic debts in a single lifetime. It's intense, it's isolating, it's exhausting, but it's efficient. Instead of dragging lessons across centuries, the soul compresses them into one incarnation. That's why some women feel like life hits them harder. It does, because they volunteered for accelerated growth. And once these karmic lessons are integrated, the pattern changes. Not magically, not instantly, but permanently. And that opens to something even more unsettling, because some women aren't alone due to karma at all. They're alone because the person they're waiting for isn't even here. And that changes everything.
3. The missing soulmate paradox. There's a specific kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from waiting. Waiting for someone you can't describe, someone you've never met, someone who feels familiar without a face. Edgar Cayce said this feeling wasn't imagined, it was remembered. According to his readings, not every soul incarnates alongside its counterpart, and that single idea quietly destroys the romantic myth most people live by. Because what if the reason nothing ever feels complete isn't because you haven't found the right person, but because they aren't on this plane at all? Cayce called this the asynchronous incarnation, two souls bound together, but not arriving at the same time. Sometimes one remains on the spiritual plane, sometimes one incarnates in another era. Sometimes both are here, but separated by circumstances that make union impossible.
Different countries, different lifetimes, different paths that never fully cross. And yet, the connection remains active. That's why some women feel a constant sense of longing with no clear object. Not desire, recognition. A quiet knowing that someone is missing. In one reading, a woman described feeling incomplete no matter who she dated. She said every relationship felt close, but never aligned. Cayce's answer was devastating in its simplicity. Your complementary soul is not incarnated here. You feel the bond, but you will not meet them physically in this life. Let that land for a moment, because it explains something most people are afraid to say out loud, that deep sense of almost that follows you everywhere. Why relationships feel good but never right. Why emotional connection exists without fulfillment. Why you always feel like you're waiting for something that never arrives. Cayce said this wasn't cruelty, it was agreement. Some souls choose to incarnate alone because their evolution requires independence. Without a counterpart to lean on, without a mirror to define them, without a bond to soften the path. Growth accelerates in solitude. Pain deepens, but so does awareness. And here's what no one tells you. An absent soulmate does not mean a loveless life. It means love takes different forms. Friendships that feel unusually deep, moments of guidance that arrive out of nowhere, dreams that feel more real than memory, a presence you sense during important decisions. Cayce said these weren't imagination, they were interaction. The bond continues, just not physically. And sometimes the paradox deepens even further, because in rare cases, the soulmate does incarnate, just not early. You may live decades alone, grow into yourself fully, and only then encounter them. Not as a fantasy, not as a rescue, but as an equal. Other times you cross paths briefly, a glance, a conversation, a moment that stays with you forever, and then it's gone. Not because it failed, because it wasn't meant to last. Cayce warned that forcing a soulmate-style expectation onto the wrong person creates suffering. You ask someone to complete a role they were never designed to play, and they can't. So the relationship collapses under the weight of expectations it was never meant to carry. Understanding this changes everything. You stop chasing intensity. You stop mistaking longing for destiny. You stop believing something is wrong with you. Because the paradox isn't that you're alone. The paradox is that you're connected, just not in the way this world taught you to expect. And once that truth is accepted, something strange happens. The ache softens, the desperation fades, the waiting ends. Not because the person arrived, but because you finally understood where they are. And that realization opens the door to a different kind of truth. Because some women aren't alone because someone is missing. They're alone because they were never meant to share their energy at all. And that leads us into the most misunderstood reason for solitude.
4. Solitude as mission, not misfortune. Some women aren't alone because love failed. They're alone because love would interfere. That's what Edgar Cayce said, and it unsettled almost everyone who heard it, because it reframes solitude not as loss, but as assignment. Cayce noticed a pattern that kept repeating in his readings. Women with strong intuition, women with creative fire, women with leadership energy that didn't ask for permission. They struggled in relationships, not because they were difficult, but because intimacy drained something essential. Every time they got close to someone, their clarity blurred, their strength dimmed, their sense of direction weakened. And once the relationship ended, they felt like themselves again. Cayce didn't call this coincidence, he called it energetic interference. According to him, certain souls are designed to function as clear channels. They transmit, they create, they lead, they heal. And to do that, their energy must remain undiluted. Constant emotional exchange,
especially sexual and relational, anchors energy into another person. That anchor is harmless for most, but for mission-based souls, it disrupts the signal. Cayce explained it like this. Some women are antennas, and intimacy creates static. That doesn't mean they can't love. It means love has rules for them that don't apply to everyone else. Throughout history, the pattern repeats. Visionaries, mystics, revolutionaries, healers, many lived alone. Not because they were cold, not because they were broken, because their work required full access to themselves. Cayce spoke about the solitary healer, women whose presence alone restored others. He said when these women entered conventional relationships, their abilities weakened, not morally, energetically. Their force was being redirected. Then there was the isolated seer, women who perceived beyond the physical. They needed silence, distance, solitude. Another person's emotional field blurred perception, so the soul chose isolation as protection. And then there were leaders, women whose very existence challenged structures. Cayce said most men weren't prepared to walk beside them without trying to control, diminish, or ground them, not out of cruelty, out of insecurity. So the soul chose independence, not because connection was impossible, but because compromise would have cost too much. Here's the part most women never realize. These souls don't consciously know they're on a mission, so they suffer. They try to fit into models that were never designed for them. They force relationships. They blame themselves. They feel defective for needing space. But the soul remembers, and it pulls away every time something threatens the assignment. That's why relationships collapse in familiar ways, suddenly, without explanation, right when things get serious. Not because love failed, but because alignment did. Cayce told the story of a woman whose gifts vanished whenever she entered a relationship. People stopped healing around her. Her intuition went quiet. Only when she chose solitude did everything return, stronger than before. His words to her were simple and brutal. You cannot anchor your energy to one person when it was meant to serve many. That's the trade-off. And it's not punishment, it's responsibility. Now, this doesn't mean these women are condemned to permanent isolation, but relationships must look different. More space, more autonomy, less ownership. Partners who don't demand possession, connections that don't require sacrifice of purpose. Those partnerships exist, but they're rare, because both people must be mission-aligned. And when that alignment isn't available, solitude becomes the most faithful choice. Not lonely, faithful. Faithful to the agreement made before birth. And when a woman stops fighting that truth, something shifts. Loneliness transforms into clarity. Isolation turns into strength. Silence becomes power. But even this isn't the deepest layer, because solitude doesn't just protect a mission, it prepares something inside you, something essential, something that must be built before anything else can arrive. And that brings us to the most difficult lesson of all.
5. The alchemy of spiritual self-sufficiency. There's a reason loneliness hurts before it heals. It's not meant to be comfortable. Edgar Cayce believed solitude is one of the soul's most aggressive teachers because it strips away the illusion that someone else is supposed to complete you. According to Cayce, many women remain alone for one central reason. They still need love to feel whole, and the universe does not reward need. It dissolves it. Over and over, in reading after reading, Cayce delivered the same message in different words. As long as you require another person to stabilize your identity, as long as you depend on being chosen to feel valuable, as long as intimacy is used as emotional oxygen, connection will remain unstable because dependency attracts imbalance,
not partnership. That's the alchemy. Loneliness transforms you only if you stop resisting it. Most people try to escape it. They distract themselves, they overwork, they chase attention, they accept half-love just to avoid silence. But Cayce said, avoidance delays the lesson. The soul wants self-sufficiency, not isolation, but inner completion. And this lesson unfolds in stages. The first stage is despair. You try to fill the emptiness externally. Relationships, validation, busyness. Nothing lasts. The emptiness grows louder. The second stage is surrender. You stop running. You sit in the discomfort. You face the parts of yourself you've avoided. Fear, insecurity, longing, shame. And you discover something unsettling. You don't disappear. You survive the silence. The third stage is integration. This is where alchemy happens. You begin giving yourself what you always demanded from others: presence, care, validation, love. You become your own witness, your own anchor, your own safe place. And once that happens, the craving dissolves. Not because you stopped wanting connection, but because you no longer need it to exist. Cayce warned that many women sabotage relationships without realizing it. Not out of fear, out of hunger. They pour themselves into others hoping to be filled back. But no one can fill a void created by self-abandonment. So relationships collapse under the weight of expectation. Loneliness returns, the cycle repeats, until self-sufficiency is built. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Forced loneliness is not cruel. It's corrective. Every time someone leaves, every time connection fades, every empty evening, your soul is saying the same thing. Learn to stay with yourself. Learn to be enough without applause. Learn to exist without being reflected. Cayce said, when spiritual self-sufficiency is reached, one of two things happens. Either a high-level partner appears, someone who adds, not completes, or the need for partnership fades entirely. And both outcomes are success. Because love stops being survival. It becomes choice. You love because you want to share, not because you're afraid to be alone. And that changes the energy completely. You stop attracting people who drain you. You stop tolerating imbalance. You stop shrinking to be chosen. But this isn't the end. Because once self-sufficiency is built, a new tension emerges, one most women never expect. Because sometimes the reason you remain alone isn't internal at all. Sometimes it's vibrational. And that's where things become truly uncomfortable. 6. Vibrational compatibility and attraction physics. Here's a truth Edgar Cayce shared that most people aren't ready to hear. You may not be alone because you're lacking something. You may be alone because you've outgrown what's available. Cayce believed attraction isn't emotional first. It's energetic. Before words, before chemistry, before intention. Two people meet, and their frequencies either align or quietly repel. No drama required. According to Cayce, spiritually evolved women emit a frequency that automatically destabilizes men who aren't operating at the same level. Not because the men are bad, but because the vibration gap is too wide. Think of it like this. When two frequencies are close, they harmonize. When they're far apart, friction forms, discomfort, power struggles, sudden withdrawal, unexplained tension, and eventually separation. This is why some relationships never even start. Men feel intimidated without knowing why, disconnected without understanding how, drawn and then pushed away. Cayce called this energetic mismatch, not rejection. And the more a woman grows, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, the smaller her pool of compatible partners becomes. That's not ego, That's mathematics. Most people don't choose growth. They choose comfort, familiarity, surface-level living. So when someone operates at depth, they become incompatible with the majority. Cayce addressed this directly in his readings. He said spiritually advanced women attract unstable, wounded, or unavailable men, not because that's what they want, but because those men are the only ones not immediately repelled. High vibration men are rare, and when they do exist, they're often already committed to their own path, isolated, focused, unavailable in conventional ways. That creates a brutal dilemma. Lower yourself to fit what's available, or remain alone and maintain alignment. Most women try the first option. They dim themselves, they soften their truth, they compromise depth. And the relationship still fails. Because you can't fake frequency, your energy will always correct the lie. Cayce said something that made many uncomfortable. High vibration women are not meant to settle. They are meant to raise the baseline, even if it costs them connection. That doesn't mean love is impossible. It means love requires equality, not admiration, not dependence, not control. Equality of frequency. And when that isn't present, loneliness is actually protection. It prevents energetic entanglements that would drain, distort, or delay your evolution. Here's the part few people talk about. Once a woman understands this, she stops chasing. She stops internalizing rejection. She stops asking, "What's wrong with me?" and starts asking, "Who is actually compatible with who I've become?" That question changes everything, but it also leads to the final shift. Because when solitude, karma, mission, self-sufficiency, and vibration finally align, something breaks open. And that brings us to the turning point Edgar Cayce described, the moment when loneliness stops being suffering and becomes transformation. 7. Loneliness as transformation and superpower. Most people think loneliness is a curse. Cayce disagreed. He said it's a tool, a forge, a laboratory, a space where the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Because the longer a woman endures conscious solitude, the more the soul develops muscles no one else can see. Strength, clarity, purpose, presence. Cayce described it as spiritual acceleration. Women who endure, who observe, who learn to fill themselves first, transform loneliness into fuel. Every abandonment, every unfulfilled longing, every failed connection becomes raw material for evolution. And here's what's hard to hear. Some women aren't just alone. They are deliberately chosen for this intensity. Before birth, their souls agreed to take the long, solitary path, to face karmic debts head-on, to clear energetic blocks, to evolve faster than most. And the universe supports them. Even if it looks like emptiness, even if it feels like rejection, even if society whispers that something is wrong. Cayce said women who reach this stage stop asking, "Why am I alone?" They ask instead, "What am I becoming?" Loneliness ceases to be punishment, it becomes superpower. Their energy no longer leaks into another. It consolidates, it radiates. They become living examples of wholeness. And here's the paradox. Once they embody this power fully, they stop attracting the wrong people. They start attracting mirrors, people who amplify rather than consume, connections that align instead of diminish. And sometimes, if the universe decides the timing is right, even soulmates appear. Not to rescue, not to complete, but to accompany, to witness, to co-create. Cayce's readings ended with a profound message. Your loneliness is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is refinement. It is the crucible in which your soul becomes whole. And when you finally understand this, every night alone feels sacred. Every empty room becomes a temple. Every quiet moment, an opportunity. You are not waiting for life to happen. You are becoming exactly who you are meant to be. And that is the ultimate freedom.
Conclusion: the bigger picture and soulful perspective. So what does it all mean? All the readings, all the patterns, all the raw truths Edgar Cayce revealed about female solitude. It means loneliness is never accidental, not karmically, not energetically, not spiritually. It is intentional. Every moment alone is shaping you. Every longing is teaching you. Every heartbreak is preparing you. Cayce reminded us the soul operates on a timeline far beyond the human clock. Your relationships, your disappointments, your waiting are all part of a design you agreed to before birth. And here's the kicker. You are not defective. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are evolving. The woman who feels misunderstood, unseen, or endlessly alone is not cursed. She is chosen to carry light, chosen to hold frequency, chosen to become whole without relying on anyone else. And this is the lesson that changes everything. Completion does not come from outside. It comes from within. The soulmate, the partner, the validation, those are bonuses, luxury, not necessity. And when you realize that, loneliness stops being a void. It becomes a tool, a mirror, a laboratory, a playground. It becomes the very space in which your soul evolves, strengthens, and prepares for the destiny it was always meant to fulfill. Every abandoned relationship, every unreciprocated longing, every night spent alone, they are investments, not losses. Cayce's final insight is both sobering and liberating. You are never truly alone. The divine watches, the universe aligns, your soul is at work. And when the time comes, everything that felt empty, painful, or impossible will suddenly make sense. Not because the world changes, not because anyone else shows up, but because you become complete. And that is the freedom everyone seeks, but few understand. The question is no longer, why am I alone? It becomes, what is my loneliness shaping me into? And when you live with that awareness, you are no longer waiting. You are ready to create, ready to love on your terms, ready to shine without needing permission. Cayce ended every reading on this subject with the same final note. Do not cry for the loneliness. Celebrate it, because you were never alone. You were being forged, and when the time comes, your life will reflect it, not as a tale of suffering, but as a story of power, mastery, and soulful fulfillment.